Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we are back to another recording of Hearthstone. Oh, what a rough voice to start off with. Didn't do my vocal exercises to warm up, which I don't always do that, but every now and then I definitely seem to need it. Today is Wednesday, August 15th. We have a decent amount of news. Seems like it is forever a trade-off. We're starting late today, and why am I starting late today? I don't know. On the Americas account, I want to trade either one of these. Like, this by far is the best reward. This is more likely to turn into a 50 than it is to turn into an 80 or 100. So I'm just gonna leave it where it is and not re-roll. And we've got a tavern brawl. The winner goes to spoils. More wins means more rewards. 12 wins for maximum glory, 3 losses in your end, and you end your run. Ends in 4 days. This is a Brawlicium, which pretty much we're going to need to be playing Paladin class cards. That means this is going to be long. Brawliciums usually require an entrance fee, but since it's your first time, enjoy. It's not my first time for doing a Brawlicium, certainly. So let me just come over here, take my Paladin HS replay deck, copy that, come over here, go back into the Tavern Brawl and save some time. Create deck. Would you like to create a new deck with the one on your clipboard? Yes, please. Like, if any deck is going to have any chance of winning whatsoever, it's just going to be NHS Replay meta deck. Same decks everybody else is playing. And so basically this is just an arena run on top of the fact that people can always do arena runs. So it kind of sucks. Like, the only slight difference between this and an arena run is in arena runs, you can get drops of 3, 4, 5, 6 copies of the same card. You can do it a little bit, have a slightly non-standard deck, but it is based on random drops too. But for the vast majority of people who are doing arena runs, nothing's happening with you. Like, really, nothing good is gonna happen there. You're just gonna get random cards. Yeah, so I stayed up last night playing the Goosebumps video game, which is a prequel to the Jack Black Goosebumps movie for Halloween month. It's a very item-centric, yeah, I would say it's a very item-centric point-and-click adventure game, to the point where you have, we're approaching over, well, there's definitely been over 50 items in the game, but I have almost 50 items extra just sitting in my inventory. It seems like most of the items are just references to either the Goosebumps books, or the TV show. I think the TV show inherently is just a reference. In total, I think the TV show was just a reference to the book series. So I wouldn't be surprised if none of the episodes in the TV show were different at all compared to the Goosebumps books. I did find out R.L. Stine is a real person and not just a pen name for the author of Stephen King, which is what I thought. I guess that was a rumor that went around for a long time, and it stuck in my head. That's the problem with rumors. A great example of that is like how the British Army during World War II made up lies about how carrots are extremely good for their pilots' eyes, and they were feeding them tons of carrots, and that's how they were seeing all the German planes, because they didn't want to reveal the classified technology at the time that they had invented radar. and they were just using radar to see where the German planes were. But still, to this day, I would say a significant portion of people, probably more than half, believe that that carrots are particularly good for your eyes, and I'm sure they are slightly good. Any vegetable in general would be slightly good for your body in some way, but it's not going to give you excellent, appreciated vision better than what you had to start off with, and most of your abilities and senses are at their best at birth and just get worse and worse as you get older and wear them down. It would be lovely if there was a way to improve your eyesight, your hearing, your taste buds, things like that, but we haven't found a way yet to do it. Short of outside devices like hearing aids and glasses. Alright, this is a mech, so we can merge this one and let's go ahead and play this. Let's go ahead and attack this. And then return. Yeah, I think I'm about to lose. There's loss from number 1. Remember, I have an Americas, a European, and Asian account, so doing this flawlessly is going to be a big old waste of time for me, because I know I'm not going to get 12 victories. It's probably better just to hedge my time and cross your fingers. Try to win, but cross your fingers and say, you know what, 3 losses will just be fine, because 3 losses equals 9 losses over the 3 different accounts. The Goosebumps point-and-click adventure game is rather feels like it's going to abruptly end. It really feels as a point-and-click adventure game because I solved like one of the most difficult puzzles, and frankly there seems like there's only maybe 4 or 5 puzzles. Well, I suppose if defeating the enemies are included in that, you could say it's approaching maybe 10 puzzles. But one of the puzzles I solved was a riddle, and I didn't feel like I was smart or I knew what I was doing. I just kind of handed one of the many objects I could have handed to the character that was supposed to be the solution of the riddle, and I just got lucky. That's all it was. It's just I guessed it without understanding the riddle, without being able to go back and listen to the riddle a second time. The game starts off. The Goosebumps video game starts off on the absolute wrong foot by showing you this very fast-moving text cutscene, and it's not having you click to move the text-based dialogue forward. So it's just, here's a long sentence that even me as an adult who can sort of speed read can't read all of, and then it shows it for way too short of a time, and then moves on to the next sentence, and then it's another long sentence. So I got about half of that intro section, and I ended up saying, look, if anybody's interested in this, go back to the beginning of the video and just set the YouTube playback speed to 1/4 speed, because that's the only way you're going to be able to see that text. And this is, the Goosebumps game is copyright 2015, so it's not like it's a old game running on a new processor and that's why it's moving too fast. The game's crashed once, which is not acceptable for as short as it is, and the fact that it's just a point-and-click adventure game. It doesn't seem like it's running on any engine, so it may have been hand programmed by WayForward. But it doesn't feel like WayForward did it any favors. It definitely doesn't feel like the developers of the game themselves cared. The developers of the movie cared at all. I should have played this. I was not looking at my mana crystals. And they just wanted it as a movie tie-in. I'm not sure the movie actually this game came out anytime around the time the movie came out, because the Demystified game also came out several weeks, if not months, after the no, not Demystified, the Mummy Demystified game by WayForward came out several weeks, if not months, after that movie had come out. This is a good kill.
I fight.
The battle.
So the way these battles work, by the way, is I should be playing against somebody else that has one loss. The first person I should have been playing against should have been a 0-win, 0-loss character. And because I have one loss, I should now be playing against somebody who has one loss and theoretically is thus easier to beat. If I lose the second time, I'd be playing against somebody with 2 losses. And if I lose the third time, I'm out. If I had won the first time, I would have been playing against people with 1 victory. And then if I had won the second time, I'd been playing against people who'd won 2 victories, all the way up to 12 victories or 11 victories. So you can see it becomes really, really more difficult to get 12 victories, because you're not playing against 12 random people. You're playing against a very selected group of people. Let's see. This is a death rattle, this is a magnetic, this is death rattle. So it's gotta do this. And then gotta do this. But I don't think this is enough for that.
I fight.
The battle.
Die, mate.
All he really needs to do is double the health of this character again, and that will be that. I feel like both the Goosebumps movie and the Goosebumps game failed to realize that that's an anthology series, and they should have gone for like a trilogy. In the Goosebumps movie, I would have said maybe 3 recognizable characters from the Goosebumps book series in the first movie, and then leave it open and try to make a sequel and try to make a trilogy there. But because they kind of wrapped up the entire story, I mean, there was room where you could have made a sequel to the Goosebumps movie, but they showed everything that would have been recognizable. Honestly, the whole series would have done better as a reboot on TV. That's really where it would have helped, is if they just said, hey, we're gonna make new Goosebumps TV series, or straight to Netflix series, or something like that. But just cramming every single character in the same story makes the characters very unimportant and uninteresting. Also, you have to have a ton of Goosebumps knowledge. And then there's some weirdness there where approaching the end of the second act of the game, the main character you're playing as admits out loud that they've read all the Goosebumps books, but they haven't been making any reference to the fact that all these characters are from the Goosebumps books, because the monsters are quite unique. They're usually a merger of one thing or the other.
None will
Like
survive.
it's a poodle dog attack monster that's also a vampire. That's not just, oh yeah, this is a vampire, this is Dracula. That's straight up, oh yeah, I remember a crazy story like that. Or one of them is like slime in the drain, or a sponge under your sink that comes alive. Like there's definitely some stuff there that should have been recognizable, and it only made sense if the main character you're playing as hadn't read the Goosebumps things. You have an older brother that doesn't show up until the very end of the second act, who I was assuming he was going to show up a lot earlier, be a huge fan of Goosebumps, and be your sidekick and make all the references and all that. There's also some weirdness, like you're given a map feature through a cell phone, but then the cell phone drains as the hours go down as you're playing the game. And there seems to be really only one place to recharge it, and I have yet to find where that one place is. But I do see that there's an achievement for recharging your cell phone. There are instant deaths in the game that go back to retry sections, which is fine, but kinda not appropriate for a kid's game. The whole thing is just not for kids. It's for some weird nostalgic people who want to play a bad point-and-click adventure game and have nostalgia for Goosebumps and probably Sierra games back in the day. It's not really doing a great job to satisfy the market that they should be going for, nor is it doing a good job to satisfy the market that they are going for. It's really a mess, and it's kind of weird, and it's kind of a shame because WayForward makes the Mighty Switch Force games, and those are cult hits, and the Shanti Half Genie Hero games, and those are kind of a cult success. So it seems like what happens here is WayForward takes these side projects and doesn't seem to really put its all into it, and because of that they come out with a lot of licensed sort of bad games, and that's not good for their company name at all. I think Goosebumps deserves a little bit better.
The light protects me.
Of course, you could always make an Are You Afraid of the Dark licensed game. I'm surprised there hasn't been one at this point. There is also some confusions there, because halfway through playing the game I did think to myself, where's the Midnight Society? And I'm like, oh wait, no, that actually is Are You Afraid of the Dark. That's not Goosebumps. So yeah, there's a little confusion there, certainly. Spooky stories for kids have kind of fallen out of fashion, and now it's Harry Potter. So the Goosebumps game, in comparison to like the Harry Potter mobile game that's full of microtransactions, I guess technically it's better than that.
Your magic shall
But-
not save you.
But that's kind of all I can say, is that yeah, at least it's not a mobile game ripping people off. I guess I've had quite a bit to say, frankly, about the Goosebumps game, and I'll be done with it and have some more final thoughts about it probably by Friday, assuming I get around to recording either later today or tomorrow. It's still a bit of a struggle. Still a struggle trying to get all of this stuff. See, so all I can do is play this, and then that, and that.
Reporting for
And then on your turn. So let's start covering the news. We have a decent amount of those. Gamma Sutra has an article. High-Res Studios creates 3 new studios to handle Smite, Paladins, and Realm Royale. I thought this had already been announced, so maybe, like, is it possible that I've gotten some news here before it got to sit around the circuit of mainstream video game media? It's possible, yeah, totally possible, because I think I've gotten some news from some sources that doesn't come out. I think, like, IGN, on top of their plagiarism issue, plagiarist employee issue, which now, from what I hear, they are actively going back and scrubbing everything that guy had ever posted on IGN. And at a certain point, I wonder if it isn't easier and better just to remove him completely. That would have been my first thought. It's like, okay, we've investigated, we found out he's plagiarism. Everything he's ever done gets removed immediately. We want this gone in the next hour. We want no mention of him. We want him scrubbed from our site. Instead of trying to say, well, maybe we can save one article he wrote. It's like, forget it. Just make a list of the articles and say, look, anytime there's a slow week, somebody go play this game and somebody write it again. Next time we try to hire an employee, we'll hand the oldest games to those people and tell them, look, we want you to give us a review of this so we can see your writing style. Job done. I think that would be the easiest thing. And there's still a lot of hemming and hawing of the mainstream gaming media on that issue too. Like, most people are 98%, I would say, against the plagiarism, but they're like, well, but it's not IGN's fault, or maybe his deadline was too tight. They keep still trying to make excuses, and I'm like, well, there's excuses for everything. Like, you can excuse anything and everything you want to excuse. It's real simple. Don't plagiarize. If you do plagiarize, you're gonna lose your career. That's it. I mean, you don't have to break it down any more than that. But on top of that, then there is also a slight misattribution issue with IGN, where a small-time breaking news source, broke some news. So this is their byline, this is their breaking news, this is the thing that lets news sources get people's attention and grow. It's the thing that takes a small newspaper towards being a big newspaper, or a small news source to being a big news source. So Kotaku quoted that breaking news and attributed it to the small-time people. I don't remember the name of the small-time people, unfortunately, so I'm failing to do attribution here, but I'm not reporting on the news that was broken, I'm reporting on the reporting of the news. And then IGN basically just copied, which is what they all do. They just copy the news article and rewrite it in their own words, which is what news is quite often. They just copied the Kotaku article, not word for word. They didn't plagiarize it. They just, wrote the same article in their own words and then attributed it not to the original breaking news source like they should have, but they attributed it to Kotaku, which smacks of cronyism. I mean, how do you not call that cronyism, saying we won't give credit to the people who actually broke the news source? It wasn't TechRaptor, but let's say it was TechRaptor. TechRaptor breaks some news, and then Kotaku reports on that news and attributes it to TechRaptor. Then IGN came in and and attributed that breaking news to Kotaku, which that's just not the case. Kotaku didn't break that story. For most people, it seems like, I'm sure that seems like, who cares as a issue, but it's really, really important because it's basically stealing the work of that small-time news source and giving it to somebody else. It would be the equivalent if you were in school and somebody had written a paper and you steal that paper, and instead of using it for yourself, you just acted as a middleman and gave it to somebody else. That's just also unethical. I've also heard that IGN really doesn't have any kind of editorial staff. Like, there's nobody in charge there. It seems like that almost certainly is the case. Because if there was somebody in charge who cared about the morals of journalism, you wouldn't have a long-running issue that is happening here of these kind of journalistic ethic things happening. And to quote Leona K, we still need to have a conversation about ethics in journalism, in games journalism in particular. And Gamergate, a 4-year-old dead movement, has become this thing that people can just scream in the comments, and then it allows journalists to not address when they are being unethical. They can just say, well, nope, this is just people harassing me. This is just a harassment campaign. And so I don't know if you have to get down to straight censorship to have a conversation and say, look, we're going to talk about games journalism, and we're banning the phrase Gamergate, harassment, and harassment in those concepts.
Reporting for duty.
I suppose it is worth mentioning that while Gamergate for the most part didn't accomplish a lot, it did force at least some of the mainstream media to revise and establish some rules about disclosure and disclosing whether you were dating people who worked on games, disclosing whether you got what gifts you got in any form or fashion for the games, whether you got the games for free or at early access. Like, heck, even if you got the game early and you're paying full price, you're still getting an advantage. So there's our one win, which will probably be 10-20 dust and a pack. 35 gold and a pack. Yeah. Kind of went on a rant there. Like, I guess I'm just not quite ready to talk about the news yet, because I'm instead talking about things that personally came up. Seems like every Wednesday I'm now just kind of reporting about the Giant Bombcast. Man, they just talked about World of Warcraft almost all of that podcast. And as somebody who doesn't really care about World of Warcraft, it was boring. I've been watching We Happy Few. Jim Sterling hates it. Says it's a buggy, defective game that should be recalled. From the footage he shows, he kind of backs that up pretty well, too, with examples of bugginess in We Happy Few. I've been watching other streamers, in fact, a very boring streamer that, it's interesting, he's just kind of not saying anything. He's just long playing the entire game, and he's making no criticism, and boy is that boring. But then again, I imagine this streamer that I'm watching has more views than me, more subscribers than me, so what do I know? That's always the weird part of that about this. Ooh, this is, I'm gonna play this deck, but I've just realized that this mech paladin deck actually has very few paladin cards in it, because it's mostly neutral mech cards. So yeah, that's not gonna be useful. Yeah, I really don't have anything to say about Hi-Rez Studio creating 3 new studios. My tinfoil hat thought here is that Hi-Rez is creating 3 new studios to handle games they don't want to handle, and 3 new studios that they can do some accounting shenanigans with, so that all the losses can say come from paladins, and all the profit can be funneled back into Hi-Rez, which I assume they want to do something different with their time. Also, as soon as Smite, Paladins, or Realm Royale, I would guess it would be Realm Royale, stops being popular enough, they can just shut down that entire office, fire all those employees, and shut down the game, while not having the headline that Hi-Rez Studio fires 1/3 of its employees, and instead having the ever so slightly better response of Hi-Rez Studio shutters the entire office, or closes an office.
Repent.
Why that is slightly better, I don't know, but it seems like it is.
Mind if I roll need?
Let's see. Rock Paper Shotgun is talking about this, has this article, Art History Mangling Adventure, The Precision to Calvary turns to crowdfunding. This looks like it is some kind of game with old romantic art. Yeah, I think it's from the Romantic period. I could be definitely wrong about that.
Converting stored energy.
It kind of looks like the Monty Python animation skits, and I think there always is a little bit of love for that, more than it really deserves to be. Yeah, it looks like it's just a point-and-click adventure game with a weird art style, and the weird art style might make it very difficult to actually play a point-and-click adventure game. I'm looking at the trailer now, but this inherently is a Rock Paper Shotgun article telling you, hey, this game is going to Kickstarter, which it's trying to get people to let's see. Seems to be a prequel game called The 4 Last Things that you can buy from their original page already. So, like, this at this point, I don't know how you don't call a article talking about a Kickstarter as just an advertisement, just as a commercial for that game. It's just pre-ordering by a different name. So basically this entire article is just an ad when you break it down. And more I want to try to avoid games that aren't out and focus. I've said this before, certainly I want to just focus on games that are out. There's plenty of those that happen. For example, Punchpad Workout is on Steam, came out August 14th. It's a casual sports game, and I think this might be an understanding of boxing practice better than I understand it, or most people. Punchpad Workout requires VR. It's English only as the language, but I don't think that would really matter, and it's $4.99 with no discount. But what it is in front of you there are several pads in which you're playing Simon with, they light up, and you're supposed to hit those light up things to learn combos of boxing. There are 4 buttons at the top, which I assume represent jabbing people in the face, and on the edges doing a hook to the left or right.
It is finished.
There seems to be an uppercut point to the chest, and then on the bottom there seems to be 3, so I would guess one of those is a punch to the gut and the other 2 are kidney shots. Well, that was a victory, and that's great and all, but that doesn't solve us. We need to make a just paladin card. Save time to play. I need to save time to play the meta decks quicker. That way I'm not trying to play cards like paladin cards and messing up my gameplay for ranked play. So we'll just leave it on ranked wild gameplay in this instance, so we need to convert this to wild. And there's only 2 left. Probably could find a couple 2 ones that wild. Throw that in there and go in there and just play this. So what kills the idea of this standing in front of this boxing machine, you're not punching real people? That kind of sucks. This certainly isn't so much a pattern recognition game like Punch-Out, which I don't think I'll ever get something that's quite exactly like Punch-Out on PC. But yeah, this is probably what you need more than anything else. There probably is still some problems here, because getting your fists used to being in pain and actually hitting something is probably an important thing to do when boxing. So if you actually had a machine like this, a punch pad workout machine, it'd probably be infinitely better and smarter to use that. And you're still going to swing your fist around and potentially hit somebody if they're standing too close to you in VR. So you'd have to be rich, a rich person who travels a lot, who has a super powerful laptop that could run VR in this game as a boxer. So I could see like a pro boxer using this as a toy every now and then, but I bet pro boxers also go and work out at gyms wherever they're going all the time, or they have personal trainers. So I don't know, like, on a lot of faces this seems a lot smarter than half of the boxing games that we've seen that have been just broken or unfinished. But it still kind of runs into the same issues, I think. So it's a VR game, so I'm not going to wishlist it anyways because of that, but that is but it's certainly an interesting idea, something that may be improved upon later on.
To battle! To battle!
Moving on, we have a PC Gamer article. Jagged Alliance Rage is a turn-based strategy game about old, broken mercenaries, mercs. This seems to be a game that Jagged Alliance Rage will be the first game published by Handy Games THQ Nordic's mobile and indie-focused label. So this could be a mobile game too. And there's no announcement date set, so we've got an announcement of the game. I kind of wish all of these games, I mean, I don't know how you pass a law or something and say all games have to be announced at E3, and actually that's a terrible thought, because then it would just get confused. So yes, I do suppose I want year-round announcements of games, but I probably just want to fall back to my standard rule of I would like to see games only talked about by the news media, just basically a blanket. We won't talk about a game at all. This trailer, by the way, is censored, blurred heavily, maybe by YouTube. Shoot, that is. What did I just do? Change his attack to 1. That didn't work. I thought I was going to change his health to 1.
Reporting for duty. Evil will be purged.
Yeah, I would just like to see the news media not report on these games. This is Jagged Alliance Rage is the sequel, 20 years 20 years separated from the original Jagged Alliance game. So, okay. 20 years ago is also like when 7th Guest came out. So, you're talking really, really old games that THQ Nordic is trying to get their licenses on and publish. I'm still really just completely uncertain about what they think they are doing.
Repent.
Like, why is this? Why is THQ Nordic spending such an incredible amount of money and time getting licenses to games and trying to grow so big? They seem like they really are trying to run before they learn to walk. And I don't think that's gonna suit them well at all.
The last days, but we fight.
We've got a game on Steam called Big Boy Visual Crime Novel. Let's see, witness what this is really. Well, it seems like it's a not widescreen, black and white drawings, just like single picture drawings. Game. It's somebody half meaning a game, half just making a joke game, and half actually trying to make a game. I don't know if this was supposed to be a cell phone port, that it's in that portrait mode, so it kind of seems like it is. But because it's just black and white and it's not widescreen, it's in English and Turkish too for 99 cents with no discount. That strikes me as a very low effort game where you could do a lot more, put a lot more effort into the graphics.
Reporting for duty. Evil will be purged.
Hit this in the turn. PC Gamer has another article. Patrick Stewart, Jean-Luc Picard of Jean-Luc Picard characters fame, will narrate My Memory of Us, a game about children in the Holocaust. The problem here is I've played a game of Patrick Stewart narrating games. He was in the Elder Scrolls game before Skyrim as a main character, and just did his regular voice, and which is highly tied and recognizable as Jean-Luc Picard. He was the narrator in I believe it's Castlevania Lord of Shadow. And I do want to get around to playing Lord of Shadow 2 at some point. I think I have that in all the DLC. And again, he just does his own voice. The truth is, Patrick Stewart is just not a video game voice actor. He only does his own voice, and it's so recognizable, it's so typecast that anytime you hear it, it just sounds silly. and I don't think you can really do too much about it. I would say Leonard Nimoy also kind of had that same problem. He did some voice acting work, I don't think particularly for video games so much, but for plays and radio dramas and things like that. And it really just sounds like Leonard Nimoy. And like, this is why you have the same video game voice actors over and over again play roles, is because they can do different voices, or at least their voice is not super recognizable. The voice actor for like Nathan Drake is getting a little too recognizable, certainly, but that's it. I would say in general it feels like the Patrick Stewart has run out of money, or gotten very bored in his semi-retirement, since he is going back and going to be a character. I wouldn't be surprised if they kill him for as old as he is. I believe he's like 70 years old or older. He was gonna be the main character in a new Star Trek series on CBS All Access, so nobody will see it. But he's so old, I don't know what you do there other than kill off the character after the first season. Like, when you think about the next generation, the main character, the first main character you see on the first episode is not Captain Picard, but number one, his second in command, and basically the last thing you see is, well, Captain Picard, I believe, was the very last scene on the last episode, but then the last thing you see in Enterprise is actually number one again, and that would make more sense. But I don't think that actor wants to act anymore. He wants to write and direct. And frankly, you can't. My point I was trying to make there, and I don't know if it was a good point, is that they were introducing somebody new to the Enterprise family at the beginning of the next generation, and they were also introducing the audience to a whole new generation of characters on a whole new Enterprise. So what almost certainly has to happen is that we get introduced to a new character in the new Star Trek episode, who is going to secretly be the actual person that's important, and then that new character is going to take it over and move on in the second season, if it gets a second season. It is probably a better way to do it than the Star Trek series previous, where it's just all new characters with no real tie-in to any of the previous things we'd seen. However, on a bigger issue, I feel like what we've run into is a situation where, I hope this one attacks, or yeah, this one's got to be the one that attacks and I win. Unless they draw a card and then one of these guys attacks. Nope, attack with the lowest one and you win. Yeah, Star Trek in general has had diminishing returns in its series. I didn't like Deep Space Nine and didn't watch all of it. Haven't ever watched all of it. I've seen all of Voyager. Voyager is pretty bad for at least the first half of the series. I've seen most of Enterprise. Enterprise certainly didn't succeed, and I think it was trying to be good, but it certainly it wasn't appreciated that way. So you're talking Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Enterprise all being much bigger failures than in compared to the original series, which became a cult hit, and Next Generation. And to be fair, the first season, Next Generation or so, was pretty bad, too. But you have entire seasons of Deep Space Nine and Enterprise and Voyager that probably aren't worth watching. The reboot movies of Star Trek did what they did, but they're unlikely to continue for a while, at least, because they don't want to pay the actors what the actors want to be paid. And so the next Star Trek reboot movie, J.J. Abrams movie, universe movie is not likely to happen as early as it should. None of those movies succeeded on the level where they should have succeeded, which would have been to say, let's reboot the TV series with these J.J. Abrams actors. So yeah, that too has been a failure. So you have like 5 different projects. The newest Star Trek series, at least the fans that I hear from it say that that is a complete failure too. The truth is, they just the owners of the license, Paramount, I believe, just doesn't care about Star Trek. For as much as people complain about Star Wars, at least Disney wants to do something with Star Wars and wants it to succeed. I honestly believe that. They may not know how to make it succeed, but at least they want it to. Where Paramount doesn't want any of that. It's just CBS All Access. We want to trick people into paying our new streaming service, and so we're going to make something and call it Star Trek, and then put a bad story out. But again, I'm getting onto rants more than covering news, which I guess is fine. Like, this is the old way in which I used to do things, is just get into rants and talk about whatever I wanted, which isn't, there's no real problem with that. It's just gonna make the stream go longer. So I do want to get through the news though. PC Gamer has an article: Fortnite fans reckon its time rifts will close by the end of next week. I think that's an article that I will just leave at the title. Like, I don't play Fortnite and don't really care. It seems like Fortnite is doing the right thing and trying to keep itself fresh and entertaining by changing things, whereas PUBG in comparison launches the Fix PUBG campaign and says, yeah, we're just gonna fix all those bugs everybody's complaining about, but we're really not adding any content or changing things or in any way trying to do anything that would that would cause people to come back to PUBG. We've got a game on Steam called The Devil's Garden. There's another game that sounds very similar to that I think I talked about Monday, but it certainly isn't this game. The Devil's Garden is 15% off for $11.89. It looks like it's pretty much just a first-person shooter asset flip type game. It's pretty, certainly, when you start getting into Unreal. You start getting these assets that look very good. Unreal Engine 4, it says. But when I look at the trailer and see how there doesn't seem like there's really any kind of gameplay here.
Reporting for duty. Evil will be purged.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of very generic barrels and generic fire pits and generic hallways, and yeah. Seems like there's one skin on some zombies just walking closely towards you, which has been a classic. This is a low effort game thing where they can just program AI to walk towards you and that's it. Next game we have a game on Steam called Fitzel, F-I-T-Z-Z-L-E, Vicious Alligators. Fitzel is apparently some kind of... Oh, we've already, I think, seen a game like this where there's a picture on the left side and a picture on the right side. You have to knock out the squares on the right side so that there are holes for the picture on the left side so it fits together like a Tetris piece. The only difference, I would assume, in this instance is it's alligators, where last time it may have been anime girls, if I was to guess anything. Yeah. Fitzel Vicious Alligators is 40% off for $1.79, which is pretty expensive considering this is probably just a... Well, it doesn't even seem like it has achievements, so I don't even know what the point here is. Have they really gotten down? Have all the schemers and scammers gotten down to the point where we're just going to try and make these low effort games and sell them and make the small amounts of profits?
Reporting for duty.
Maybe that is where they've gotten to it. PC Gamer has an article. Ninja, the Twitch streamer, Ninja defends his decision to avoid streaming with women. Quote, the issue I'm addressing is online harassment. Let's see. Recently, Tyler Ninja Blevins stated that he avoids streaming with women on Twitch because he doesn't want to bring drama or gossip down on himself, his wife, or other women. This was a Polygon article, and so inherently, I think Blevins' first mistake was talking to Polygon. Certainly, there is a argument here that is Ninja making other streamers and other people famous by streaming with them. If he is, then the argument certainly could be made that he is disenfranchising all female streamers to effectively not cause any gossip happen to him or the other female streamer, but he's not really asking every single female streamer. I'm sure there's plenty of female streamers who say, I'll stream with you, Ninja. I don't care if people ship us or it causes a bunch of drama in the chat. Or what? On the other hand, it kind of is this general idea of, like, you can't really call Ninja a MGTOW that's this kind of almost joke, smaller community. I think there are actual people who do believe in MGTOWism, as it is. MGTOW standing for men going their own way. Just saying, look, I've had, in my personal experience or in my bias that I've learned from somewhere, I've decided all women are not worth dealing with at all. And so I'm not going to try and date, and I'm not going to try to get married. I would assume that you would say homosexual men are also MGTOWs, but you wouldn't really classify them as that. And I can certainly understand just having a lot of bad experiences and just saying, look, this is my bias now is so deep that I cannot even imagine that I'd run across a female who I'd want to deal with compared to so many of the ones I haven't dealt with. It's kind of a narrow-minded perspective, and it's not an open-minded perspective. But there's a lot of people in the United States that aren't open-minded, and I guess that's really what it comes down to. On the other hand, Ninja's streams are Ninja streams. He can do whatever he wants, and the idea that he isn't picking and choosing who he's streaming with the male streamers is kind of disingenuous. Like, unless it really is a case that as soon as he hears a female voice, he just abandons the stream, which people would hate that. Like, Ninja almost certainly has played against and played with female players. He just didn't recognize it. He's just saying that on scheduled streams, where is that? Also, I wouldn't be surprised if Ninja's getting all these offers of spammers and fakers saying they're female that want to stream with him. I cannot, for the life of me, I don't know a lot of famous streamers, so I can't think of a female streamer in the first place on, I believe, Fortnite, who would be anywhere even close to Ninja's status that he could play. His wife is his manager, so he should, I would say, be playing with her, and then I think you could avoid, now I need to do Monster Hunt battles, you could avoid a little bit of this criticism where, alright, this opens in 1 week. Good thing I logged in here. You could avoid a little bit of the criticism by streaming with your wife every now and then and just doing that. There's a lot of different ways that you can go, but also this is kind of just not news. It's like one man has decided to not let women stream on his video. He's not entitled. He's not running a corporation. He's not hiring people. He doesn't have to follow that thing. Same thing. Imagine if, say, like, well, there are entire countries where women aren't allowed to be shown. So there are actors in those countries, like Middle Eastern countries, who are acting and only working with men. Like, sure, if he hires only men, that's one thing, instead of hiring by meritocracy. But he's just saying, as a celebrity who's running his show and deciding who he's going to collaborate with, which inherently is his own personal decision. It's his show. He puts that stink on himself, and he's willing to live with that stink, to say, I'm not willing to stream with women because of how people ship you and talk and bring in drama. I think inherently Ninja needs a better publicist and needs somebody to look over this and phrase this a little bit differently. But there also is a lot of hate, particularly by SJWs and feminists, against MGTOWs. Like, so yeah, SJWs like hate white cis males, but they also hate when males say, well, okay, you hate men, so we'll just go do our own thing. And they go, no, you have to be dependent on us. You have to want and desire us, because a lot of females' self-worth is intertwined with the being wanted and desired by men. So it's holding them to a double standard. Effectively, Ninja is saying, I want to live a life of streaming celibacy and not deal with deal with the opposite gender. And if Ninja was at some kind of commune, some kind of cult-like environment, you know what they would do? They would totally have all the celibate men in one part of the commune and all the celibate women in the other part, and the two would never meet. And this is when you compare like the Middle East and how women and men are kept almost completely separate in day-to-day life. This is such a non-story and an unimportant story. Better issues could be talked about and dealt with, whether or not you're streaming or not.
I'll give it a shot.
Inherently, in churches, synagogues, Jewish synagogues, and Muslim mosques, the women are kept, I believe, at the back of those churches, oftentimes with a veil separating them during the services. So there's direct institutionalized segregation going on there, and those are issues that fall between religious tradition and segregation, and the traditions needing to be changed, and people need to be forced to integrate. But for Ninja's example, I don't think anybody is going to force him to integrate. I wouldn't be surprised if a couple years go by and he says, you know what, I've thought about this more, and actually my opinion has changed. That's one of the big problems with the internet too, is that if you're a young person who makes a bad decision on the internet, that people seem to think, well, that's you and that's how you're going to be for the rest of your life. Even in the 4 years of me streaming, I'm not sure I 100% stand by everything I've said even a year ago. Things have changed. I have changed. My positions and my realizing who I was leaning on and believing without question has kind of changed. Like, I didn't even 4 years ago know what an SJW was, and now I end up having to talk about them like every stream.
Well, I never.
So I guess this is pretty much just me saying leave Ninja alone, or leave Brittany alone. Just leave him alone. Let him do his own thing. Like, if you know him personally and you had this conversation personally, that's one thing, but really this is just Polygon slamming a streamer because he probably gets more views than Polygon. That's kind of all it is.
Oh, and sneaking about makes me the thief.
Let's see. Moving on, since we've got a lot of news, TechRaptor has a article from somber to frivolous. They look at the co-op card game From Rust by the co-op card game is called From Rust by Raspberry Games.
First.
Let's see. Let's see if there's a review here and a release date. A new co-op collectible game immediately falls apart, I think, because then I'm not going to play it as much as I play Hearthstone. Trying to find partners would be a nightmare.
First.
Let's see. At the bottom of this TechRaptor article, it says, note, this article was edited slightly to fix minor grammatical issues. That is good, but you need to point out where and what what was changed. You shouldn't just immediately say minor grammatical issues, because that could be anything. From Us currently has over 1,000 cards planned for the game, but there's no link here. Nothing to talk about, so this is one of those unactionable games where it's articles where it's like, well, even if I love this game and I wanted to do something, I really don't have anything I can do with it. So yeah. I suppose this would be editorializing to say this in this transition, but I'll do it. Continuing in SJW antics and propaganda, we have a Eurogamer article. Usually I would have thought this would have been a PC Gamer, but Eurogamer and PC Gamer are the same company, same parent company. Valve's forgotten game, Team Fortress 2's shocking toxicity problem. And anytime the phrase toxicity is thrown about, you know there's going to be some level of BS going on. Yeah, let's go ahead and take this and play it. The subtitle here is, for some who have suffered harassment and sexual abuse, enough is enough. This is from Emma Kent, reporter intern at Eurogamer. So at the very beginning, the interns are already coming in with these kind of complaints. It's like you're certainly not bringing in a fresh voice to a company if you're saying the exact same thing that all the other people have been saying from the word go. I wouldn't be surprised if they're now just bringing in interns to be the people to dog whistle to these SJW agendas. On the other hand, to be fair, I've never played Team Fortress 2, so I don't know what level of toxicity, if any, exists. I don't know how that happens or what's being moderated and what isn't. Can you even really speak out loud to people? I mean, can't you just mute yourself? Let's see. Like, part of this article certainly is going right back to Eurogamer and other mainstream journalists' desire to simply have Steam censor the Steam store. This last paragraph has a sentence: it was recently displayed a laissez-faire attitude by washing its hands of responsibility for games it sells, and then it's going to link back to articles talking about their no censorship policy as if that's a bad thing. Let's see. It's so crazy in my head that they're just, they can twist a policy if we're not going to be censors and censor our open store to, oh, we're going to promote and allow hostility and toxicity.
Engaging TC-130 mental dislocator.
Let's see. The thing here is, I plan to play Team Fortress 1, Team Fortress 2. I have all those games. I plan to get around them. I bet when I play them, I don't run into anybody talking to me at all. because I'll just have all of that muted and I will have a perfectly fine experience. At a basic level, you as a human being are the one in charge of your own mental health. If you're thinking that somebody is going to that you might get harassed and you can't deal with that, then you shouldn't even enter the chance of that happening. Instead of whining. Like, this is really is just a whining article that I don't really know how true it is. Like, let me know in the comments, I suppose. Let me know in the chat. Have you played Team Fortress 2 and dealt with a horrible player? Can you not block, ban, or skip that player? It's like, what games really are so bad that you can't, after seeing that a player is bad, mute them? Like, what game has no control of that whatsoever? Because I think most games give you the tools. You're just a lot of times people that write articles like that are just not using the tools and then complaining like the tools don't exist. This is also the same thing that happens with YouTube a lot. YouTube often gets sued and complained about for copyright infringement, while meanwhile they do everything in their part to allow people to report copyright infringement with their content ID system, and still they get sued. And if I'm at the point where I'm defending YouTube, then you know you're probably on the wrong side of history. Summon a minion with attack equal to this minion.
Eureka!
Okay.
That minion is not ready.
Moving on, Tech Raptor has an article, Necrobarista rises from the dead in 2019, now coming to the PS4. So this game is slowly leaking out information for this game, Necrobarista. Of course, by the time it comes out, it will probably long since be forgotten. Let's see. We've got a game on Steam called Space Explorers Reload, the first episode of Naked Space Exploring Journey. It's indie casual nudity sexual content. We've got some glistening lady on the right with a head of a commander, some kind of like space commander on the left. The commander on the left is in like a suit, the lady in the right is in like a sports bra, dripping in sweats, and her bust size is heaving several letter grades bigger and smaller. It is ridiculously just getting bigger and then smaller with every breath, to an unrealistic amount. I should have done this and gotten more secrets. She seems to be also in some kind of bikini bottom things. So this is 3D CGI pre-bought assets, and there seems to be several ladies on the ship. They're naked only in the phrase of being in their underwear for the first 3 screenshots, and then there's a censored bar of a topless and maybe bottomless lady. The art style here is pretty ugly. So Steam's anti-censorship policy is starting to more and more get abused, and one would hope that that would have led to somebody catching some of those abuses and stopping that from happening.
Was unexpected.
Let's destroy random one.
This guy's toast.
Destroy that. Destroy that. Destroy that. This game has 99 achievements. Space Explorers Reload. It's part of the 80,000 achievement bonus for 40% and 59 cents. I bet it's like 5 minutes long. So yeah, more of these extremely low effort games that I imagine, like, a game like this doesn't need to be censored off, it just needs to be filtered into the right place, and it needs to be replaced with better quality games. And the thing we've yet to see is better quality games that have some nudity or sexual content in them play a role. As soon as that subsection, that category in Steam becomes an established category, and people can search by that category, that's when we're going to hit the point where we start to see some of the Japanese developers releasing better visual novels and better games like that. Moving on, Game Sutra has... Did I just not start a timer? Let's see. I guess I didn't. I've been going an hour and 22 minutes. Yeah. Alright, so I'll wrap up after this recording. Game Sutra has an article. EA's chief design officer, Patrick Sutherland, is stepping down. He's leaving the US publisher after over a decade, which, generally speaking, after over a decade implies that it is, well, deal 8 to the enemy. Destroy a minion. And then, let's see. He's, quote, beginning a new chapter later in his life. You know, this might be a great thing for EA, because EA's problem is probably its higher ups. So if Chief Design Officer steps down and all of a sudden EA games stop having so many microtransactions in them and they stop being money grubbing, that might be a good thing, really. EA Sutherland served as CEO of Battlefield developer DICE before the studio was acquired by EA in 2006. So, yeah, he was part of DICE. EA buys and shuts down companies all the time. In general, if they stop doing that, that would also be a good thing. Okay. So let's take a moment, take a break. We need to get one more Monster Hunt victory. We have no new friend requests, and then we can move over to the European accounts. It's been an hour and 22 minutes. It's pretty good. Mostly ranting, mostly just taking it easy and talking, which is, I guess, fine. You know what? Do whatever I want to do on my channel. If I'm gonna say Ninja is free to do whatever he wants to do, I need to give myself the same permission. And if I want to just roll naturally into a rant while I'm playing Hearthstone, I'm gonna just roll naturally into a rant. I don't have enough viewers on my videos that seem that opinionated anyways, so yeah, nobody seems to really say we hate your rants, we love your rants, or anything like that. So since I don't get any feedback, I really have no social pressure to change what I'm doing. Maybe that will probably change as I get more subscribers and more viewers, though. Like, I'll probably start pointing in one way or the other. Anyways, that's gonna be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, I'm asking people to friend me on Steam and gift me a game. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.